I was forced to learn all of the rules by heart, but even I don't take them that seriously.
What's going on, YouTube? Splice Itchers here, back with another Genshin Impact video, and what in the world is going on with Eula's physics? Alright, here we are. The Eula first impressions video. And I've got to say, I'm pretty darn happy that I pulled her. She is a super strong physical DPS character. Let's take a look at some of the stats so far. So I do have her at level 90. Got her built with 2.1k attack. Still working on some of the artifacts here. And we'll get more into that in just a minute. Crit rate at almost 61%. Crit damage at 178. I'd like to get this up just a little bit higher. Like I said, still working on some of the artifacts here, but I've got her geared up with the Serpent Spine Battle Pass Claymore. It is Refinement Rank 3. Every 4 seconds a character is on the battlefield, they deal 8% more damage and take 2.4% more damage. This effect has a maximum of 5 stacks and will not be reset if the character leaves the battlefield. But they will lose a stack every time they take damage. So, at full stacks, it's an extra 40% damage done, and 12% increased damage taken, which honestly isn't that much, and it has diminishing returns because every time you get hit you lose a stack, so every stack that comes off you lose 2.4%. so after you get hit once it's down to 9.6% extra damage taken. You get hit a second time, 7.2% damage taken, so on and so forth. And then, of course, it's also got crit rate built into the weapon as well. Now, when Eula levels up, she gains passive crit damage, much like Hu Tao does. For Ascension, for leveling up Ascension materials, she uses the new Cryo Hypostasis boss materials, and then, of course, the Cryo Gems, as well as dandelion seeds. And I already have a dandelion seed farm guide up on YouTube. So if you need dandelion seeds, whether it's for Eula or for Jean, be sure to check that out. So up next we've got the artifacts. Currently I'm running 2 Pale Flame and 2 Bloodstained Chivalry. I'm working on swapping over to the 4-piece Pale Flame set, just because the 4-piece set will give me double this increase, the 2-piece increase, and change it to 50%, which is currently what I'm getting out of 2 pieces of each. However, with 2 pieces of each, it is a full-time 50% increase, whereas with the 4-piece Pale Flame, I would have to hit my E twice, because when you hit your E with the Pale Flame 4-piece, your attack is increased by 9% for 7 seconds, and it can stack up to 2 times and can trigger only every 0.3 seconds, which her E has a cooldown of 4 seconds when tapped and 10 seconds when you hold it. So if you tap it twice, it takes 4 seconds to cast it twice. Once 2 stacks are reached, the 2 set effect is increased by 100%. So within 4 seconds, not only will you have the 50% physical damage increase, but your attack will also be increased by 18%, because you'll have the 2 stacks of the 4-piece set. So overall, a little bit better damage boost there. So I would highly recommend getting the 4-piece Pale Flame set on this particular character. Up next, we've got the constellation. I definitely won't be pulling on this banner any further. I'd love to. Her constellation looks like it would be absolutely ridiculous. Actually, you know what? First, let's go over the abilities so the constellation makes a little bit more sense. Obviously, we've got the basic attack. Pretty ho-hum, run-of-the-mill type information. Nothing special going on here. She does hit super hard, but outside of that, there's no different or special bonuses or anything like that. Up next, we've got the elemental skill, which is the E ability, Ice Tide Vortex. Slashes swiftly, dealing cryo damage. When it hits an opponent, Eula gains a stack of Grim Heart that can stack up to 2 times, and these stacks can only be gained once every 0.3 seconds, which is fine because her E, like I said when pressed, has a cooldown of 4 seconds. However, her alt, or her Q, her elemental burst, whatever you want to call it, will also generate a stack, but we'll get more into that later. Grimheart increases Eula's resistance to interruption and defense. Now, you might be wondering what interruption is, just in case you don't know. Interruption is when an enemy hits you and you're in the middle of attacking or using an ability, and you get knocked on your back instead. That's interruption. So she gains a resistance to interruption so that she can tank more hits to the face and just keep going about her business. Up next, we've got the hold ability. So if you hold the E, has a 10-second cooldown. Wielding her sword, Eula consumes all stacks of Grim Heart and lashes forward, dealing AoE cryo damage to opponents in front of her. If Grim Heart stacks are consumed, surrounding opponents will have their physical resistance and cryo resistance decreased. Each consumed stack of Grim Heart will be converted into an Ice Whirl brand that deals cryo damage to nearby opponents. So let's take a look at the stats here. Press damage 220, hold damage 368, Ice Whirl brand damage, and that's 144% per ice brand. So ideally you're going to only want to be consuming this when you have 2 stacks of Grim Heart. So that's an extra 288% damage, because you will be summoning 2 of those Ice Whirl brands, 1 for each stack of Grim Heart at 144% damage each. Now, of course, these stats are also based on talent level, of course, but that's just at level 7, that's what it is. Defense bonus, 30% per stack. So like I said, when you consume 2 stacks like you should be, 60% bonus to defense. Grim Heart duration, 18 seconds. That doesn't change whether you use 1 or 2 stacks. Physical resistance decreased, flat 22%, as same as the cryo resistance decrease. And then the resistance decrease duration is for 7 seconds. And like I said, if you just tap the E, it is a cooldown of 4 seconds. If you hold it, cooldown of 10. Up next, we've got the Elemental Burst, the Q ability, called Glacial Illumination. Brandishes her great sword, dealing cryo damage to nearby opponents and creating a Lightfall sword that follows her around for a duration of up to 7 seconds. While present, the Lightfall sword increases Eula's resistance to interruption. When Eula's own normal attack, elemental skill, and elemental burst damage deal damage to opponents, they will charge the Lightfall sword, which can gain an energy stack once every 10th of a second. Once its duration ends, 7 seconds, the Lightfall sword will descend and explode violently, dealing physical damage to nearby opponents. So here we've got physical damage as well. So her alt and her E, whether you press or hold, it does deal some cryo damage, but she is meant to be built as a physical damage character. This damage scales on the number of energy stacks the Lightfall sword has accumulated. If Eula leaves the battlefield, the sword will explode immediately. So let's take a look at the stats for this ability. At level 7, the skill itself will deal 368% damage. The Lightfall sword base damage starts at 580%. And then it gains an additional 118.5% per stack. And like the talent info described, you gain a stack every time you deal damage, whether it's from a normal attack, charge attack, or her elemental skill or elemental burst. Maximum stacks, 30. Has a cooldown of 20 seconds, and it has a monstrous energy cost of 80. It does take quite a bit to get her elemental ability her elemental burst charge back up. But if you can, on your artifact pieces, I would definitely try to get some energy recharge in there if you can. Obviously, you want to prioritize damage dealing buffs first. You know, crit damage, crit rate, attack percent, attack flat attack increase, so on and so forth. But obviously, artifacts are very difficult to farm, very good ones, and chances of getting an artifact that has attack, crit rate, crit damage are very slim to none. So if you have to pick a substat, go with the elemental recharge instead of HP or defense if you can help it. But let's talk about these two real quick. So at 118 damage, 118% damage per stack at a maximum of 30 stacks, that would be an extra, at this rank, 3,558% damage if you could get it to 30 stacks. Now let's be real, unless you get her to C6, this is going to be impossible. This will never happen. She doesn't attack fast enough, her cooldowns don't come off fast enough to be able to get 30 stacks. However, her C6 ability just might make this possible, although near impossible just about every time. You'd still have to get some really ridiculous RNG to get anywhere near this cap. But anyway, let's move on to the passive talents here. If 2 stacks of Grimheart are consumed upon unleashing the holding mode of Icetide Vortex, a shattered Lightfall sword will be created that will explode immediately, dealing 50% of the basic physical damage dealt by a Lightfall sword created by her elemental burst. So 50% of the damage. So if we go back and look at the elemental burst here, at rank 7 it has a base damage of 580%. So if we take half of that, the consuming 2 stacks of Grimheart while holding the E ability will cause a Lightfall sword that deals 290% attack damage. So that's a really nice extra bonus. Like I said, you should always be consuming 2 stacks anyways, and this is just icing on the cake. Up next, we've got Wellspring of Warlust. When Glacial Illumination, the elemental burst, is cast, the cooldown of her E is reset, and Eula gains 1 stack of Grimheart. So ideally, what you want to be doing for rotation is you want to be hitting Icetide Vortex twice to get your 2 stacks, and then do the hold ability, which is going to cause it to become a 10-second cooldown, and it's going to consume your 2 Grimheart stacks, giving you all those extra buffs, and then you want to pop the elemental burst, and it's immediately going to reset the cooldown. So even at 10 seconds, it's going to be reset to instantly be available, and it's also going to give you 1 stack of Grimheart to boot. So after you cast the elemental burst, you can just tap this again one more time, instantly back to 2 stacks. Just wait it out, maybe 12 seconds, 15 seconds or so, because the Grimheart buff duration is 18 seconds. Go ahead and hold the ability again and repeat. Now, of course, because the elemental recharge on the Glacial Illumination, the elemental burst, is so high, chances are you'll be going through quite a few rotations of 2 presses of Icetide Vortex and 1 hold before you get the elemental burst charge back up. Lastly, we have Aristocratic Introspection. When Eula crafts character talent material, she has a 10% chance to receive double the product, which is a huge bonus, particularly when you're crafting those gold quality talent books. An extra 10% chance to create an extra one is a huge deal. Now, we do have another character in the game who has a talent material boost, and that is Xingqiu. When he crafts character talent materials, he has a 25% chance to refund a portion of the crafting materials used. So, for example, if you're crafting blue books, you have a 25% chance to be refunded 1 green book, which honestly isn't that great. And then if you're creating the gold quality books, you'll have a 25% chance for each one that you create to receive 1 blue talent book in return. I mean, it's better than nothing, but if you've got Eula, I would certainly choose her talent material buff over Xingqiu. Alright, so now let's take a look back at the constellation. So for C1, every time Ice Tide Vortex, which is the E ability, Grimheart stacks are consumed, Eula's physical damage is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. Each stack consumed will increase the duration of this effect by 6 seconds up to a maximum of 18 seconds. So with the 2 stacks of Grimheart, you would gain an additional 60% damage, physical damage, for 6 seconds. No, excuse me. You'll still get the 30% increase. However, each stack consumed will give you up to 6 seconds of uptime, is the way that works. So you'll get the 30% physical damage boost, and for consuming 2 stacks, you will get, I would have to assume 18 seconds. Because the base is at 6 seconds plus 6 seconds for 1 stack and 6 seconds for the second stack, for a total of 18 seconds of 30% damage, physical damage boost there. Constellation level 2 decreases the cooldown of Eula's E holding mode to match the tapping mode cooldown. So it would go from 10 seconds to 4 seconds. That'd be absolutely fantastic. That'd be huge. That'd be a really, really fantastic buff to get. C3, of course. C3 and C5 just increase the level of her E and her Q by 3 points apiece. And so C3 increases the Q by 3 points. C4, we've got Lightfall Swords deal 25% increased damage against opponents with less than 50% HP. Not that big of a buff, but a buff nonetheless. However, when you do think about the multiplier, that at level 7, it was 118% extra damage per stack with a base damage of 580. And so having an extra 25% damage of that would still be a very, very large buff. C5, as previously stated, just adds 3 points to one of her talents. This one happens to be the E ability. C3 is the Q, C5 is the E. And for C6, Lightfall Swords created by Glacial Illumination, which is the Elemental Burst, the Q ability, start with 5 stacks of energy. So now we only need 25 stacks to hit the cap of 30. Normal attacks, elemental skills, and elemental bursts have a 50% chance to grant the Lightfall Sword an additional stack of energy. So we have a 50% chance per attack to do 2 stacks instead of 1. So this is why I said getting her to C6 might actually make it possible to hit that maximum of 30 stacks, although you'd still have to get super lucky with RNG to be able to get those 2 stacks per hit. I mean, Eula attacks fast for a Claymore user, but she doesn't attack that fast. And with a 4-second cooldown on her elemental skill, at best, you'll be able to use it twice before the 7 seconds of your Lightfall Sword is up. So that's at best if you got the if you procced the 50% chance to gain an additional stack. That's only 4 more stacks. And then each auto attack made, or not auto attack, basic attack. Like I said, she does attack pretty quick, but if you're casting your E twice and doing normal attacks in between, chances are you're probably only getting 4 or 5 normal attacks in between. However, if it does include when you hold your E, and if you have 2 Grim Heart stacks, it creates one of those Icefall swords that you gain one of those Icefall swords per stack of Grim Heart, so it does 2 of those, plus the that passive talent. Which one was it? Yes, the Roiling Rhyme. If 2 stacks of Grim Heart are consumed, upon unleashing the holding mode of her E, a Shattered Lightfall Sword will also be created that will explode immediately. So, not only will you get the 2 Icefall brandishes, but you'll also get the Lightfall Sword, the Shattered Lightfall Sword. So that's an extra 3 sources of damage, so if it counts those as independent hits as well, and they can also generate a stack each with a possibility of 2 stacks with C6, then yeah, it is quite possible you could reach the maximum of 30 stacks, but like I said, it's still going to be pretty rare. But regardless, even if you got above 20 stacks, you're going to be absolutely destroying absolutely everything. So, after that brief little character walkthrough there, why don't we go test out the DPS numbers here. We're going to go fight the Pyro Regisvine. And I am going to cheat a little bit. I've got Zhongli on my team. And I am going to be utilizing his shields just so I can tank the the boss without having to dodge too much. I would absolutely love to pull for the Song of Broken Pines, her best in slot weapon. That's on the banner right now, but the weapon banner is a super wallet drain. If you thought pulling characters were hard, try pulling on the weapon banner. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Beg for mercy.
See if we can speed this along here. Get this Corona broken. There we go.
Rack and ruin.
There we go. There's the hold. And the Q. Pow.
Crush.
And the press again. Didn't get to see the Lightfall Sword explode from the ult. As you can see, her cape is glowing. Let's get back out here and we'll demonstrate exactly how you can tell how many Grim Heart stacks Eula has. Honestly, it's a little bit difficult, and I wish they would do something a little bit easier to tell, because it can honestly be a little bit difficult telling the difference between 1 and 2. You really gotta have a keen eye for detail.
Stabilize.
But basically, as you can see, her cape is just blue right now. With one press, starts glowing faintly. Give it a second press, and now it's glowing brighter. But honestly, it's not that big of a difference to really be that noticeable. It can be really easy to accidentally consume your Grimheart stacks when you've only got 1 stack built up. But anyway, that's Eula in a nutshell. Like I said, fantastic character. Even if you've got other physical damage dealers, like Razor, for example. He also uses a claymore. He's primarily physical DPS. Chong Yun, also another 4-star. He's also a cryo claymore user, but mainly he's kind of a mix, honestly. His ult does some pretty decent cryo damage as well as his E, but nobody hits quite as hard as Eula does, and honestly, her attack string is faster than any claymore user we have seen yet. So what do you guys think of Eula? Do you love her? Do you hate her? Did you pull for her? Did you get her? Are you still hoping to get her? Let me know down in the comments below. And as a final note, look at this attention to detail. Squishy, squishy. No other character has that has that feature. Anybody who's wearing any kind of tights or thigh highs, anything like that, nobody has that little squishy bulge. And it is absolutely fantastic. It is super cute, super adorable. Yeah. Everybody else apparently is just skin and bone. But Eula is absolutely thick. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.